Mr. Minnick here, helping my BV students with tracing while loops worksheet number 2. This is different from the previous worksheet because this worksheet, in each while loop, we have an input box statement being used. We'll see how that plays into this shortly. Okay, let's start with number 1 here. Average is a variable. It's an integer and it's equal to 0, so I'm making a note of that. Count is -1, and both of these guys are both 0. Now we get to the loop. We get to this control expression that for good style is in its own set of parentheses. It's either true or false. Let's check it out. Is num currently not equal to -1? Because that's the not equal to symbol, you know. True. 0 is not equal to -1. That is true. So because it's true, we go through the loop. Okay, good enough. Just like an if statement. We are now in the body of the while loop. Sum plus equals num tells you to take num and add it into sum. Well, that's kind of stupid. 0 plus 0 is still 0. Okay, well, whatever. We add 1 to count. Oh man, negative numbers. Adding 1 to -1 brings that up to 0. And now we hit this input box. Well, you're supposed to assume that when this input box pops up on the screen and gives the guy a chance to type a number into that text box, you're supposed to assume that first the 20 is inputted. So just assume that a 20 is being inputted into num for the purposes of doing this worksheet. I'm telling you to assume this. So a 20 is now in num because of that line of code, and we're using the variable num there. So we've used up that 20. You might want to cross that out so that you don't lose track of where you are. And it did that with what's called an input box. Notice there's a line of code down here that we haven't gotten to yet. That's below end while, so we won't see that for a while. Okay, end while loops us back up to the top of the while loop, and now we have to evaluate the control expression again. The control expression is currently asking, is 20 not equal to -1? True. That is, 20 is not the same as -1. So again, we go through the loop. Num gets added into sum, so this 20 goes into this 0. Next, we add 1 to count, so count's up to 1. And we're popping up another input box, where, according to the directions, we're supposed to assume that 9 is the next number that the user inputs. So a 9 goes into this variable num. So cross that 20 out and make it a 9. We hit the end while, which means we loop back up to the top. We check the control expression again carefully. Right now the control expression is asking us if num is not equal to -1. Well, true, 9 is not -1. So we go through this again. At this moment, num gets added into sum. So 9 gets added into 20, making it 29. 1 gets added to count. So that's up to 2. We ask for the input box again, which puts a 15 into the variable num. And we loop back up to the top. And just trust me that this is still true, so we go through the loop again. So num gets added into sum. Ooh, 15 plus 29. I think that's 44. Crossing everything out. Count plus 1. Counts up to 3. Input box again. -1. Very interesting. -1. Oh, neat. Look, the input box is telling people to type a -1 if they want to quit, if they want to end this madness. So a -1, we all agree, was just typed into the input box, so it plugs into num. So keep track of that over here. And now we hit end while, which loops us back up to the top. It's getting good. This is the end of the movie. I can tell. The zombies are going to come out now and eat the main character. I'm watching The Walking Dead right now. I can't wait to get home to watch season 4. I'm hooked. Well, right now, num, which is -1, is -1 not equal to -1? False. It's a weird question, but it's false. And when you get a false control expression up here, you're done. You don't go through the loop anymore. Well, we still have another line of code to execute below this loop. We have to do this. Sum divided by count. At this moment, sum is 44. And 44 divided by count is 3. 44 divided by 3, I guess you can use your calculator if you need to. I don't need to because, well, I don't have a calculator handy, and I'm a math teacher, so I don't need it. Whoa. So 14 with a remainder of 2. Interesting. 14 with a remainder of 2. Well, you could figure that out to the decimal places. It'd be like 14.666667. But guess what? Average was declared with a dim statement to be an integer. Bet you didn't catch that. Well, I'm the one who made the worksheet, so I made it tricky. But somebody who didn't catch that might get a 4 on next year's AP exam. Always pay attention to everything. Details, details. So the answer is not 14.6667. It's just, does VB round up automatically? If you get, Ricky, does VB round up like 14.66 up to 15? Yeah, it does. So that's the answer. 15 is what you should have circled there. So circle your final values. If an error occurs anywhere on this worksheet, write error. If there's an infinite loop, write infinite loop. Just warning you because that was all in the directions. Again, strong AP students read directions because they always like to trick you once in a while up there. Okay, you do the rest of this for homework, but I'm looking ahead to see if there's anything that I should help you with. Oh yeah, exit while. In number 2, if you hit this line of code, that's like a get out of jail free in Monopoly. If you hit that line of code, you exit the whole loop and you don't even run the 2 lines of code that are right below here. It's like an ejection seat in a fighter airplane, fighter jet. So exit while, if you hit that, you don't just end while, it's exit while. The end while is more like go back up to the top of the loop. I don't know why they use the word end, that's tricky. But exit while is exit. So trace this and see what your final answers are, this version of exercise 2. And look, we're using the same fictitious numbers that are inputted into the input box for all 3 of these exercises. Now number 3, this is interesting because the input box is at the top of the body of the loop, whereas the question that we just traced, the input box is the 3rd line of code inside here. And that subtle change in the order of these 3 lines of code, that little difference, might have an impact on what numbers you end up getting in these variables. So follow things in order. Always follow them from top down. That's how computer programming works in general. And look at what else is happening in this one. To find the average, we're not just dividing sum divided by count. We're taking sum plus 1 divided by count minus 1. That's going to have an interesting effect. Let's see if the answer is 15 or not for question 3 like we just analyzed a second ago. Okay, a sentinel value. I'll just tell you what the answer is to this question. It's -1. If you read my lecture notes, or you know a little bit about Paul Revere, he was a sentinel. He told the Minutemen that the Redcoats were coming. And so he was the sentinel. He went riding on his moped out into the Lexington Concord area and yelled to everybody from his motorcycle or whatever. He said, the Redcoats are coming, the Redcoats are coming. He was a sentinel. In the movie The Matrix, there is a sentinel. If you watch that good movie with Keanu Reeves and stuff. So a sentinel is somebody who tells you that the end is near or that something's coming, something big's coming. And that -1 is a special number. And that's it. So answer the essay question for number 5, and good luck.